time for a AMA, so
yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Maybe a little more informal than some of our other events. Probably not as informal as our customer events, but I spent pretty well all morning hanging out on Reddit, which it can be good and can be bad, and in doing so, got to answer some fun questions. So, I'm excited. See who's able to show up. Like I said, inundated with questions. I reached out to like 1,400 of our people, and maybe I shouldn't have reached out to that many because I did not expect the flood of questions to be so overflowing. But always appreciated nonetheless, because it's going to make this event fun. And Mark, I know I sent you the questions that I kind of grabbed, though I don't know how much you actually got to prepare. So hopefully I'm not going to throw you too much on the fly. But for everyone who's watching, and everyone in the audience, a little bit of grace. This is our first AMA, and we're doing this live. So, you may not get quick quips, but that's kind of the fun of it, I suppose.
Anytime that I have attended an AMA, one of the things that typically happens is the questions pop up and stuff right in the chat area, and a lot of times they just kind of scroll by so quickly, trying to pick out one or two or three, whatever to go through at any given time. A lot of times they get missed. So honestly, by getting those ahead of time, it allows us to kind of ponder upon them just a little bit and actually see which ones, sometimes you just get trash.
Yeah.
Questions.
Yeah, some of that too. Yeah.
Personal things that, ask me anything except for that, that type of stuff. But, in this industry, in the real estate industry, there's so many questions going on with AI and where's it going, and is it going to replace me? That's, so many questions that come up right now, or just unsure about what things are that I have seen.
The fear is real. Yeah.
So we'll try to calm that fear. Yeah. I am so excited about the possibilities and what we can do, and what I've been able to do personally. I'll even share some of that if any of those types of questions come up. But we have just been incredibly blessed with the capabilities of what AI can do because of its creativity, because of, and so many people say, well, it's not as creative as I am. It's like, well, I'm not so sure of that, and there are many aspects that, right now, if we look at what AI is right now, could we have foreseen that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? And I don't know that we would have in some cases, and where's it going to go from here even further, which, is amazing. So right now it's as bad as it will ever be as far as its capabilities.
Right.
It only gets better from here. So
that's cool. And, Mark, I think one thing that I appreciate about you, lots of things I appreciate about you. You're a futurist, and you've been in the tech space for so long, not in a bad way, for so long that you've got these really high-level insights into patterns and processes that flow just through the ecosystems, right? And I think that is one of the reasons that I was excited to get to do an AMA. Obviously, love to open up questions and give people an opportunity to have them answered. But gosh, getting to spend time, getting to pick your brain, and getting to really hear about these things is so excellent. So Let's go ahead and I've got a soft launch kickoff, and then we can kind of get started. We're about 5 minutes in. Everyone who was able to attend, Ian, thank you. And everyone who's hanging out live or watching this in replay, welcome. My name's Cody Stepp. I am a second generation real estate technologist, and I have a life that sits kind of in the crosshairs of real estate, technology, and AI. We are here today with the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Stepp, a 3-decade, almost 36 years. Are we at 36 years, Mark?
Started in 90, so it'll be 36 next year. Yeah.
Next year. So 35 years in real estate technology. Mark has built two, almost three of the most used real estate CRM systems. And that is in the 1990s, starting out on floppy disk, moving into CDs, pre-SaaS, software as a service. And then in the early 2010s, you hopped over into the SaaS world and built your second. And then I was able to bring you over back into Workflow Secrets. We had done a little bit of coaching stuff together, but actually hire you on to work on SAM. Gosh, it's about a year ago. So that's
July of last year. Time has flown. It has been so exciting.
So that's a little bit of who we are. For 3 decades, we've watched CRMs evolve. I say we. You've watched CRMs evolve. And things that I've heard you articulate, things I've heard you repeat, things I've observed for myself. I've spent the last half decade in real estate technology, working at CRMs. I kind of took the the old school approach, moving through the ranks. I started out in customer support. I moved into outbounding sales, and then I actually have a master's degree in marketing. So I moved into the marketing role before hopping over, creating Workflow Secrets. That's our company. And then ultimately the Systems Accelerator Manager, which is the software. We just call it SAM for anyone who thinks that is a mouthful, but
it is.
It is. It absolutely is. But, things that we've seen is teams and agents are struggling to adopt, to want to use software. And ultimately, I think the most frequent question I hear is all about their databases. And I believe, I think I gained this insight from you. So we believe that there's a better way forward. And today, hopefully, we can help answer some questions, share some hard run lessons, and maybe even work to brainstorm solutions that we can put out into the ether and help the industry as a whole get better. So that is kind of the intro. Mark, would you, anything else you'd like to add to that?
Well, I have seen the gamut of the CRM platforms that are out there. The Howard and Friends, whenever you talk about floppy disk, the Howard and Friends, the old Top Producer, the iExact, the WiseAge. I mean, there's so many, and some of them are still in business, but so many of them have gone to the wayside. And in the process of doing what I've done for the past 35 years, I've helped train, coach, assist in lots of different ways, tens of thousands of real estate agents in the United States, Canada, 13 other countries, UK, Australia. It just kind of goes on. Fewer in there in those other countries, but still there. And many of them have the same types of challenges, the same types of desires and goals for their business, but so many times the systems fall short on giving what is actually needed. So it's been just an amazing year and 2 months here that has transpired with you saying, "Hey, Dad, will you come with me and build your dream system?" It's like, wow, what an opportunity. And it's just been a blast. So I want to thank you for that, giving me the platform, I guess, to be able to do that. You started off very good in what you started, and I know you asked for some advice of different types, and the methods that you took early on before me joining were just the right way to go.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate you taking some of that counsel and using it. But because of that, the foundations of what we've been able to do, even though a lot of that got upgraded and moved into a few different platform pieces as far as the development of them, we have created something really truly inspiring. I feel like. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, I don't know that you saw this, but before we move into the Q&A, one last little pitch. You know, I like to use a little bit of social proof. You know, gosh, why are these guys talking? Who are they? Who cares about them? Well, I call myself a second generation real estate technologist. I think it's kind of fun. Because we live in a very whimsical, niched world. But my first day of work was actually that top photo on the left. And it was in your office right now where you're sitting. Mark is my father, and I have learned everything I have gotten to learn over the last 3 decades from him. And I got to see his rise to success. I went off to college. I got a master's degree in marketing, and I begrudgingly moved into the real estate technology space, not realizing that it was ultimately going to be my calling. And now we get to help real estate agents with technology, which is really cool. Along the way, we have done lots of trainings. Mark has stood up lots of platforms. I build lots and lots of resources. I make lots of videos. This will be clipped out into videos. And all along the way, just like Mark was saying, I started a real estate platform, a piece of software that ultimately was used to take AI and generate content. And then it built into a full-fledged all-in-one real estate CRM. We call it SAM. But we are, you know, we're kind of on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge. We are on the edge of the cliff as far as real estate technology goes. So that's kind of where our expertise lies. But without further ado, we've got an AMA to hit. So here's kind of how I imagine this working. Our promise is pretty simple. You know, we're going to earnestly share with you guys what we've learned, mistakes we've had. And we're going to work to do it as best as we can. If you will promise us in return any grace for delays, for pauses, for and the recognition that this is live, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any questions, if you were able to attend live, feel free and drop those questions in the chat. You can also use the hand raising button, and we can call you. But ultimately, I think that we just opened the floors. You know, nothing's really off the table, I suppose. Maybe some things would be. But adoption, workflow automation, AI, skepticisms, databases, future CRM. Those are some of the ideas that I kind of had. But let's go. So maybe we open it up since we have this live going on. Any questions pressing for the AMA live portion that we can help start with?
I'd say let's take a look at, you've got several of them, questions that were already posted.
Yes.
Let's take those, and maybe as those become they open up, then we can get actual live ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good call. Good call. You know, sometimes I'm probably the last person who wants to ask a question.
Be the first.
Gosh, you know, especially being the first in a public setting. So, Mark, I have been answering questions all morning on Reddit, and I feel like I was able to give some really great answers to that. But like I said, I reached out to about 12, it was 1,400 of our folks, and I got flooded with questions. I took pretty well, you know, the best of them that I could gather, and I kind of melded them into a group. Would you like to start there? I think that would be a good place.
Why don't you take the mic there and just ask me the question? I'll give my opinion, and you can do a follow up if you've got an opinion, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I think the best question to start off with is in the CRM realm. What we find within the real estate CRM space is that agents and teams will purchase a subscription or buy a CRM solution, but then they never actually use it, or they seldom log in, they seldom you know, engage with the systems. Now, from our seat, that's like twofold. It's like, well, I'm glad to have the subscriber, but man, I work really hard to try and get you guys in the platform using it, because I understand the value that it can bring to your business. But Mark, talk to me, like, why do you think so many agents and teams end up falling into this trap of purchasing but not using?
Yeah. So this has been going on for decades. The thing that I have seen, and in going to NAR, going to the Missouri Association of Realtors, going to California Association of Realtors, different types of venues, different types of things, you know, inevitably, and even the individual coaches that are out there, everybody's looking for that magic wand that makes their life easier. And they are sold on some concept, some idea, some system, some framework of some sort that is like, this will solve your problem. And while the frameworks are probably spot on, the systems are probably spot on, it's not a matter of a magic wand. There's always work involved. And I cannot tell you how many times I have talked to people, and they have gone to an event, they get their box of goodies and things they at the event, whether it being the coaching, whether it be the national conferences and stuff like that, they'll get some box of goodies of some sort, bring them back to the office and throw them under the desk, and they just start collecting dust, quite honestly. And the challenge is, you get into your own you get into your own cycle of how you do your business, how you've done it for years, unless you're a brand new agent. And typically the brand new agents actually will open up those and start reading through them. And then there's a bit of overwhelm. Where do I start? What do I do? And that's a whole nother thing. But most of the time, people are looking for that magic recipe that will give them some sort of leg up on doing some process, and making sure that whenever they get home, they're going to do it, but they don't. And that is one of the things that I see even with software. A CRM in general is one of the hardest things to actually address and do whenever you're starting off in business, because there's a lot that has to go into that, getting the names in, getting the systems in place, getting all these things whether we call them routines, it's the workflows, it's the processes, all of those have to be set up. And while many of them can come with those processes, they're not your processes. They're not the way you do business. And if it's not how you do business, you'll start looking at it like, well, that's not how we do it here. I can't do it this way. We've never done it that way before. And whenever that happens, then it starts collecting the dust. CRMs are notorious for this because it does take setup. You got to import your contacts. You've got to, and if you've already got systems in place, if you already have some CRM and some other CRM comes around, there's effort, there's challenges in getting those set up. So making sure that we take an honest look at what are we doing, how are we doing it, will we do it before we actually take that step, sometimes is the best thing to do. And then you've also got your team. If you've got a team of agents that you're working with, you've got to deal with adoption. And will they accept the challenge? Did they see what you saw whenever it was presented to you? And if they don't, then they may not buy in. And if they don't buy in, then they don't use it, and then it goes to the wayside. So what I have always tried to express is in the coaching and the training and stuff that I've done in the past. Number one, your business is your business.
Mhm.
I mean, that's obvious. But the way you do your business, even if you're in the same city as somebody else, the same county, the same state, it'll still be different. So whenever somebody is selling you a system, a framework, a process, or whatever, you still need to adapt it to your own area. So one of the biggest things that you've got to make sure of is, especially with CRMs, is it configurable, or is it set in stone with how it's configured, so that you can do what you need to do in your own business, in the manner that you do them, the terminology that's being used in your area. Saul Klein, I've known Saul and I, he's in San Diego, big technologist. Saul, if you're hearing this, shout out to you.
Shout out, Saul.
He has made mention multiple times. He and I met down in Texas many years ago, whenever we were trying to kind of bring all of the MLSs together and try to build one big MLS database. We worked months on trying to bring it together. There's still efforts trying to do that. Everybody in every area has their own terminology, their own fields, their own whatever, and trying to bring those together is a huge obstacle. You just don't understand how big of an obstacle that is. And with CRMs, if you're just doing stuff with contacts, that's not as big of a deal. But if you start bringing in with what we have done, where you've got property information, transactional information, the listings, if you're doing any kind of listing data type stuff in there, it becomes a real challenge to try to map those fields. And it takes time. And that's what is a big obstacle, and why so many of these agents just do not actually use them, is that it does actually take some time and some effort to get them set up. And there's agents early on. Whenever I first started, I was actually teaching agents how to use a mouse, before the internet, and then teaching them how to use the internet. And this industry as a whole, not in every case, but as a whole, has been a few months behind on everything that is new in technology. And I would love for it not to be that way, but unfortunately it is. And what we've got to do is help real estate agents understand that using the time that they've got, especially in the ebbs and flows of this business, the constant roller coaster of feast and famine, uh, especially coming up now from September, October, November, it slows down. This is the best time to start getting your systems in place. If you don't have systems in place right now, now is the time, because coming up in February, March, it starts picking up. In some areas it's constant. So I shouldn't say that it's not that way in every place, but a majority of the areas, most people, school has started, kids are in place, they don't want to move. There's still relocation issues, people getting relocated for business, so it still happens. But and right now I was talking with an agent earlier, and she said, this has been the busiest 2 weeks of her year. And so it's just kind of crazy how things are happening right now. But it's going to start slowing down a little bit. And if it does in your area, it's best to take that time, figure out how do you want to be doing your business next year. What are the things? Start planning now your business plan about what are your goals, what are your strategies, what are the tactics that you'll do to get more leads. Hopefully, I'm a big proponent of referrals, of building those relationships with people. That really comes back whenever I spent I think 2.5 years with Joe Stump. He huge coach in California. Shout out to Joe as well, where he would be talking about different things, and he'd have me up on stage and talk about how technology can do a lot for them. And is like all the things that I just talked about, many people did the exact same thing. It's like, I'm giving you everything you need to create this, but will you use it? And sometimes they did. And a lot of agents that did, they did quite well, very well, taking the strategies and the tactics and the training that Joe did, and then adding in the technology that I gave them a huge leg up. And there are still agents that are still today using those systems. In fact, one of my old systems, this is crazy. One of the challenges with CRMs is, once you get into CRM, you really don't necessarily want to change unless you need to change. And, I had originally the Market Systems was my original software. It was a play on words with my name, Mark-it, but Marketing Systems, whatever. And I had teamed up with one of the top Coldwell Banker agents in Southwest Missouri, Peggy Mitchell. She told lots of her agents in Springfield area that what we were doing, and one of the top agents, Patrick Murney, started using my system, and we continued to grow and grow and grow. And we had about 5,000 users nationwide with that old system. Well, it started getting old as far as the technology. It was Windows. Actually, at that one was actually more of a DOS base, but he did move up to the Windows base. Once we went to SaaS, he stopped there. He didn't want to go. He wanted to continue using that old system, and it's like, great, if you want to use that, great. I went on and I built other systems and SaaS and whatnot. A few weeks ago, actually it's been 2 months ago, went back and was talking about, he's still using that old system. It's still functioning without any changes for the past 30 years, which is crazy to me. But he says, Mark, it's the only thing that does what I need it to do, and it continues to work. And that's a testament, number one, to good design, I guess. I try to make software that's functional and usable, but he has not found, in all of that time, in 30 years, not found anything that works the same way. Well, with what we're doing with SAM, we're taking a lot of that old, even though it's old technology, we're using the methodologies and stuff that was presented back then, and making sure that the important things, the things that could be used and should be used, are still incorporated. So it was just crazy to me to see that. But that's where somebody that is, if you're entrenched in what your business does, and if it continues to work for you, why change? Unless you specifically need something. And that's the mentality of a lot of people, is this, they don't want to change after they get it, and why they don't use something else. So.
Hey, everybody, real quick, before we jump back into the conversation with Mark and I wanted to ask you something really quickly. Do you want a little bit of help building inside your business? Now, the AMA event is not focused on actually showcasing what we can do, but what we are going to be offering up September 26th from 11 a.m. all the way to 1 p.m. Central Time is a systems builder event. Now, this is a completely free event for you guys. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be spending about 15 to 20 minutes with several different teams that are going to be pre-selected. We're going to be working to understand your biggest challenges, and then we're actually going to be helping you work through these live in person. Now, if you are one of these featured teams, you are going to have the opportunity to work with Mark and I. And if you are just a part of the audience, you are going to get the opportunity to gain all of these valuable insights while you're doing it. All of this is happening September the 26th at 11 a.m. all the way to 1 p.m. Now, here's how you can get signed up. We have a link down below, and I will throw it into the description because it is one of the dirtiest links that I have ever seen. But if you click on this, it's going to take you to a form. You can fill out your name, your email, as well as that biggest challenge that you have. And then if you decided that you wanted to take that link and send it to a friend, when they sign up, you guys can also get the chance to double your entries. And this is how you can do it. All of our featured teams need to have access to SAM, whether it's through a free trial or through a subscription. So when you sign up for the event, you're going to get an email that's going to confirm your sign up. It's going to give you details on how you can actually access the event. But here's the kicker. It's going to send you information on how you can sign up for a free trial of SAM. Once you sign up for that free trial of SAM, and you're signed up for this event, you are going to be possibly selected as one of the teams that we are going to feature during this event. And then when you send that link to a friend and they do the same, they sign up for the event and they also claim their trial of SAM or have an active subscription, you guys both get 2 entries to be featured as one of those teams. So this is a really cool opportunity. This is one of those events where Mark and I are going to take it one step further and actually help you guys understand, more so than answering questions, but actually working in and on your business with you with a little bit of strategic business coaching. So I am super excited. Go ahead and click that link, get signed up, and we will see you on the 26th. But back to the AMA. That's excellent. And I get such a kick out of just the idea of Patrick. And Patrick's got quite a big brokerage. All of those agents, still using that system. It's, a testament to the power of technology, truly. I think, to put a little bow on this, from the sales and marketing side, I think that honestly, we have some really great professionals in the sales and marketing spaces that are doing an incredible job at painting the picture of what you will accomplish. So I have a mentor by the name of Russell Brunson, and he's an entrepreneur who talks about the new vehicle and this idea that if you're tired of your Ford Fiesta, you need to hop in a Corvette, and that new vehicle that you hop in will take you somewhere else, but you get the picture in your mind of where you're going, right? And so in my mind, why do so many agents and teams buy these CRMs and never actually use them? Well, it all comes down to the marketing was excellent at painting the picture of what they will accomplish, who they will become, what they can do with that system. And then the sales team goes in the back, and any salesperson worth their weight in gold is going to be excellent at closing the deal. And so now you've got this picture painted of what you can accomplish, and you've gotten someone who's excellent at closing the deal. Oh, but now it's actually on you. And so it goes from this this dream to the actual reality of, oh, I have to be the one to do it. And I think you're 100% correct, Mark, that that is where the incongruency or the tension lies, because gosh, I got so excited, and it's almost like the sale becomes the reward rather than the sale being part of the step towards the reward. And the reward is that you have your processes in place, your databases are working for you, and your system is well oiled and moving and specific to your business to help your entire market in the way that you are specifically going to be able to help them. And I think that when that reality sits in, gosh, it's so demotivating that it's really hard to move past that. And so I really think that is kind of at play here when we come into that. So Mark, the next question I have is from Ian. He's curious what kind of IDX integrations do you think are integral to the future, and what do you offer?
That's a great question. And while it is a great question, you may not like my answer. I'll be honest. Here's the deal. Going back to the whole idea of fields are different everywhere that you are, whether you're in Springfield, Missouri, you're in Las Vegas, you're in Atlanta, Georgia, wherever you're at, different terminology, different field names, different types of properties are all used. So one of the challenges is if you have somebody moving in from one area to another, sometimes just finding properties is a challenge. But honestly, Zillow has such a huge inventory and such a huge budget on marketing and stuff that drawing people in on the search of properties using IDX, like I said, you're probably not going to like this answer, but drawing people in to your personal website to use IDX to display those properties, unless you have a huge budget that can draw those in from places, is it actually being used or not? If probably 99% of the people that are going to search for properties are going to go out to Zillow anyway. So you've got to do something different. And this is my point. Instead of, or having those properties on your website is important, but you've got to figure out how to draw your avatar, your person into your business in a way different than just, here's where all my properties are. You need to be identifying who is your avatar, what is your niche, what are, and this is, I mean, so many people talk about this, but it is so true, where if you can focus in on certain types of people, and then you can go out, you can do research using AI to identify the market that is looking for that niche area. Do the data analytics, bring in the data part of it, and then create presentations and information. And when people are looking for content, they will find you because you've got data about the area specific to what they're looking for, versus just finding a property. And maybe that's
Mark, we got a little more context too. Ian's curious about the IDX integrations in the CRM for customized messaging and automations.
Oh, okay. I guess that is a little bit different. So most of your IDX websites that are out there, whenever they are going, they're integrating into your website. Typically you've got your searching fields, the registration fields, your favoriting fields, things like that are going to help you identify those leads. And again, I still question whether or not that is in there, but the whole idea is getting those leads into your CRM so that you can then manage the relationship with them. And bringing that data in, we've made it very simple by utilizing AI to be able, whenever an email comes in with that information, being able to see, what properties are they looking for, whatever can be part of the content that's being brought in from your website. Everybody's IDX provider is a little bit different. IDX broker, there's individual website links and stuff. SAM right now, the software that we have created is IDX ambiguous. It really doesn't matter. We do not do the website part of it. What we do is, whenever you have a website that utilizes IDX, whenever they register, they like certain properties, that type of stuff, we can then take those behavioral items and have it incorporated into the context of that person. For example, one of the systems that we do integrate with is HomeBot. HomeBot is, I'm not even sure where they're exactly located. Probably need to find that out. But if you have a HomeBot type of website, it's not even IDX. I shouldn't say.
HomeBot is out of Denver.
Yeah. That was a bad example. HomeBot, one of the things about HomeBot that I really, really love is that, again, it's providing information about your particular property. You would go in there, a lead comes in, maybe you register them through their address. HomeBot will then go out and do research and stuff on, and it's got all the data and stuff on property pricing, and it does deep research on the value of that property and stuff. And there's lots of them that do this, but in either case, every time a person goes to that site and it does a lookup, the person opens an email, all the behavioral things that happens, HomeBot's integrated with us in that it sends that information to us, and now we can start scoring. If something happens, a person opens an email, they open a report, or they go look at a property, they favorite a certain property address if they're buyers. that information then is brought into SAM, and now we know, oh, hey, they're interested, or they're looking at this price range, or they're looking at different types of things. We can then take that information, and that's part of SAM, going back to the name and why it's a mouthful, Systems Accelerator Manager. Systems, there's lots of systems out there. We accelerate. The accelerator is helping you bring together all these different services. So while we don't provide all the different services out there, we're bringing them in and then using AI to be able to manage those services and manage the data, the infrastructure of that data, to be utilized in lots of different ways. So whenever a lead comes in, now we start nurturing them. We can identify through different aspects, things that they, categories of who they are, and start providing content back in the form of emails. We integrate with Gmail and Outlook. We integrate with MailChimp. We integrate with SendGrid. And as you send information out in these, a lot of times it can track, did they open it, did they click on it? And that behavioral information is what's key to identifying what is their intent, what is their likelihood of turning around and actually buying or selling property. And based off of that, then we can then send out more content driven towards them based off of their intent, based off of their demographic. We've got one field, and one of the important things is, whenever you are collecting data, what is their demographic? And based off of that demographic, what content do you send them? And give you an example here. Let's say they're a first-time home buyer, okay? And they registered on your IDX website. They're looking at properties, certain price range, whatever. That information can come in and be put into SAM. SAM then utilizes that information as it's creating its content to go out. You can augment your standard templates using AI to look at their individual record, identify any, and depending on how you want to do this, but identifying certain key characteristics of what they're looking for, and being able to focus in on that as it's replying back, even if it's using a standard template detail email. So, and this may be getting confusing. I probably should show an example, but basically everybody, whenever you're putting in contacts in the database, it can be identified as, what language do they speak? Are they first-time home buyers? Are they move-up buyers? Are they executive home? Are they downsizing? Are they retiring? All these different things that can be in there. And even though you may put them on a similar type of routine process of nurturing that lead, they can be getting different content based off of those different key factors of who they are. And those key factors then can also be augmented or changed using AI. The terminology can be changed based off of individual fields within the database, so that it's very personalized to them. And this goes back to something that you talked about, is how, Cody, how so many people talk about, oh yeah, I send out personalized emails.
Mhm.
It's because I have a merge field in there with first name, last name, or whatever. And having a merge field is not personalizing it. That's just
It's possibly the worst way to personalize, in my opinion. And it's for some reason become like the modern convention. You use like dear, and then you use a first name merge field, and you like high five yourself like you made the world's most personal message, when literally everyone who's ever received your email address is going to be using that. Now, my personal frustration with merge fields aside, they're very useful. But if we're only using them for really surface level things, we're not actually doing anything. And Mark, you kind of touched on a really fun little side note that I'll explain. Customer relationship managers, CRMs. When I was thinking about the systems accelerator manager, well, CRMs don't really help with customer relationships as they are. They do a great job of storing information. I oftentimes think about them, they're the digital manifestation of the Rolodex, the business tool that we used in the 60s, not we as in I, but society. Whereas the true success in building great relationships, you and I talk about this all the time, building out world-class client experiences, it comes from having great systems in place. And when you think about, gosh, I need a system in place for how I help facilitate that lead that comes from the IDX. Anytime they take some sort of action, anytime they engage in some sort of effort. And when I was in a sales team, one of my most successful efforts would be to send out one-off messages, and we had the ability to observe when they were opened. Well, as soon as it was opened, that was my key indicator to pick up the phone and call them, because they're either looking at the email or they just looked at it and it's still top of mind. That was a manual system that was being engaged because we didn't have the ability to do that. But we built those into SAM so that they can be automated into processes. Now, the other side that Mark's kind of getting into is the true customization, not just using merge fields, but taking those actions that they're doing, taking the moments they're looking at a specific website, a specific piece. Are they opening the message? Or however they're engaging with you, what do you know about them? Those are the details that when you use AI, you feed it all into there. And then the AI systems have a good understanding of who they are, what they are, how they're engaging with you. And then they can help you better serve those people. And so really what it's doing is it's using AI as the tool that it's supposed to be used as. And in doing so, that is the systems acceleration that we are managing, rather than the customer relationship that's not really being managed in the database.
It's well said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, I don't know if I cut you off on that one, but
and I'm not sure that I really answered Ian's question totally, but the part of the question there is what do we offer as far as IDX connectivity, and we don't really do that part of it. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of systems that are out there. They integrate with your website. The thing that we do is after that person comes to your website, and hopefully because of IDX, but in all reality, it's probably because of some other reason, but potentially through those IDX property information stuff, there are certain widgets that are typically on the website, and those widgets being the property list itself, the property detail, the searching mechanism, the favoriting mechanism, the notifications on new properties that come in. Those pieces exist typically in abundance in lots of different systems already, in lots of different websites. What we do is the next step after that. Once they've done that process, then it comes into our realm, and I'm hoping that makes sense on where we come in. most real estate agents don't have lead problems, bringing in leads. You can find leads. What they have is a systems problem more than anything. Leads can come in, but if you can't handle those leads because you've not been able to scale your business to a way that you can handle those properly, it doesn't help you to get more leads. If you've already got a database of a few hundred, a few thousand names, you have the ability to do as much business as you want through the building of the relationships that you already have, and not necessarily having to go out and buy new leads from Zillow or whomever, realtor.com. I mean, all these people are doing, and I'm probably going to get hate mail on this, sorry, is
Your opinion.
they are reselling you your own people back, because they're going out to your MLS, they're grabbing the data, they're putting it into their systems, and then they're selling you the leads that are being drawn from there. They're able to do that because they have such a big budget on marketing and television ads and just the whole mentality of the consumer today is, if I want to find properties on in this certain city or whatever, first place I go to is Zillow.com. That's just the mentality of it. They've taken the whole concept of searching properties, and they've stolen it from us. In all reality, used to, we'd have the MLS, and it was proprietary to the real estate agent, and that's been taken away. And unfortunately, for the real estate agent, now you're having to buy those leads back. Once they're bought back, if you do that process, which my mentality is, if you treat your customers right, and this is a whole nother topic, where 83%, I think it is, that the NARS report, 83% of all buyers and sellers would do repeat business with you, but only 20% actually do, I think, is the two numbers there. And why is that? Well, it's because you didn't either build the relationship well enough, or you didn't keep up with that relationship well enough for them to come back again. And so much is being missed because of that. And what we're trying to do is make sure that those people do not get dropped through the cracks. Make sure that you're building that relationship on a regular basis with nurture processes. My core strategies, whenever I teach systems in general, we talk about the core strategies, CORE, and it stands for conversions, which is all your lead conversion piece, the lead, creating lead magnets, creating, bringing in those leads, nurturing those leads until they finally sign on a dotted line as a buyer's agreement or a seller's agreement of some sort. That's the C part of it. The O being your operations. What's the sections that you're going to do to actually bring in the money from the time that they sign that agreement until you get a contract? That's your listing, marketing area. That's all part of operations. Once they get the buyers, or once they get the contract signed and agreed upon, then you go from contract to close. And then all of that part of the system, there's lots of deadlines and stuff like that. We handle all that as well, making sure that your processes are in place to be able to handle the marketing through the closing. And then post closing, once everything is said and done, they get the keys, they go home, they start unpacking. Then how do you nurture that lead from that point forward for the next 3, 7, 5, 12 years until they choose to sell and buy again. And that's the process right there that so many people mess up on. They're very transactional. It's like, okay, I got one, I sold it, I made my commission, now let me go to the next one. And they drop the ball right there. And if you can pick that up, your business can come 80-90% referral. And this goes back to my time with Joe Stump. You can do business, you can have lots of business and not even ever buy leads if you do it right. The COR, so we've got conversions, operations, retention. That's the retaining of your sales and stuff. The E on that is the experience. And this is probably the most important part of it. It encompasses the other three by saying, okay, I'm going to give my people, my buyers, my sellers, an experience that they will remember, and they will tell others because of that experience, and I will get more business from it because I gave them that experience. I have a whole story about going to a steakhouse and how many people I have referred to that steakhouse because of how they treated me. They gave me an experience that I continued to tell this story. It was in the 2000s, so almost 20 years, 25 years ago, that just blew me away. And I continue to tell people about that experience. And your people, if you give them that same experience through your systems that you do, if you can give everybody a consistent, regular, and I shouldn't say regular, an enhanced experience, something that they will remember, but you give it to them in a way that you can repeatedly do it to everybody in your list. And I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure here. If you can do that at scale, you don't have to worry about buying leads ever.
That's right. So Mark, one of the podcasters I found years ago that I absolutely love it. It reminds me of this mindset, and you and I talk about this a lot, but a fellow by the name of Jordan Harbinger, and his quote that, like, I guess got etched on me, is dig your well before you're thirsty. Right. And so you're exactly right. Like the transaction is through, you've got a commission in the bank, you high five yourself, bills are getting paid. Excellent. But then you realize, oh gosh, well, I've got other transactions in the work. I've got to go start on getting more leads in the door. It's that feast and famine oftentimes. And they forget that the person that they just successfully got this huge result for could easily be their biggest advocate. And because they just successfully got them through the close, they know that they are going to be the one who can actually do it. And so when you think about that post-sale, driving that, I call it the golden goose, working towards that repeat referral, and then you throw some systems into it so that you can manage them, whether it is a 1-year system where you're looking at season changes, and you reach out to them at the season change and say, hey, I live in Missouri. It's going to get cold in the next couple of weeks. We just made it through what we call fake fall, where it was super frosty, and now this week it is 90 degrees again.
Welcome to Missouri.
Welcome to Missouri. But it's going to be cold again. So you need to prepare for that. And if you don't know what that means, you need to cover all of your exterior faucets so your pipes don't freeze. You need to go through and make sure your window screens are on and things like that. You as the real estate,
your first-time home buyers won't necessarily know that.
Not at all.
Your experienced homeowners will, and if you send your experienced homeowners that same information, it's out of context because they don't need that information. You need to give them different information. And for your first time home buyers, that's perfect. That's the message they need. But if your systems aren't in place to be able to handle that, then you've got a systems problem, you've got a scale problem, and you will never be able to handle the numbers of people that you need in order to grow your business.
That's right. And you know, I'm riffing on this, Mark, because this is we've actually started answering a question that I got that I didn't even pose to us yet, but it's how do you design these workflows that feel personal but still scale? And another thing that kind of got really drilled into me, your friend Kendall Young, Glendale Diggs, she at one point said to you, Mark, I don't understand what the word scale means. And this is not the thing that you step on to check what gravity's doing for you. This is the idea that I can deliver that great experience helping one person, or I can give that same exact experience helping 100 people at the exact same time. And I don't have to stress out because anything that can be handled or taken off my plate can be through these systems that we're building. And so that's the idea of scaling, whether you're working with one person or you scale, you're able to grow the number of people you can help at once to 100, to 1,000, to 100,000. Gosh, I hope you don't have 100,000 transactions going on at once all by yourself. You know, let's do, you know, at least hire an assistant, but you could because of these systems. And I think that that is such a powerful idea. So Mark, I suppose let's riff on that one then. How do you design these automations that still feel personal, but also scale?
Sure. So we would go through and say, okay, take a look at what you're currently doing. Every 30 minutes, log what you're doing, and it would start giving you a window into your day in life as a real estate agent. You would see that you're doing certain things for certain people. And if you do that for a 2-week period, you're probably going to see patterns of things. You could write them down on a sticky note, put them up on the wall, identify where that particular process was happening in your bigger scope of things. And seeing the bigger picture of what you're currently doing to service your people. Going back to core strategies, what are all the things that you do from the time you get that lead that comes into your database all the way until they do finally decide to sign on the dotted line? There's a series of emails and phone calls and text messages and visits or personal visits, whatever happens, you're doing something. Once they do sign on the dotted line and you've got your listing agreement, your buyer's agreement, all the way to closing day, there's really two parts to that, the listing marketing side and the contract to close side. But all of the things that you do to service your customers through a successful marketing and closing. Maybe you're just a buyer's agent, so maybe you're just handling that contract to close process, and that's fine too. But what is it that you do to give them an experience that is memorable? Well, maybe you're not doing anything that's memorable, but there are certain things that you've got to do. Get those things written down first. What's the necessities? I've got deadlines. I've got contract obligations that have to be met. And if they're not met, those types of things cause things to stop working. You get big problems because somebody forgot to sign a certain form or whatever. Well, if that's the case, put in safeguards at each different point at which those things could happen. And if they do happen, you've got a safeguard to prevent it from happening. So you're putting in the systems that you're putting in place initially is just thinking about What are my deadlines? What are the things that I have to do in order to make this a successful transaction? Once that part is done, we can breathe a little bit, because now we at least have the deadline elements in place to prevent things from falling through the cracks. Now there's still plenty of cracks, but there are things that that you can do. Now think about if somebody calls you and asks you a question during the marketing phase or during the closing phase. At what point does that question come into play? And if you have multiple people asking that same question at that same point, here's the problem. You're not giving them the answer ahead of time. They're having to reach out. You're not giving them the experience. They're having to question what you're doing. So now you have to go through the process of saying, okay, at this point in my process, typically people will have this particular question. Let's answer that question next. Let's put that into play. And whatever, maybe they don't ask that question, but by having it in your system, you at least cut it off before it comes to you, before they start questioning whether or not you know what you're doing. So you're now anticipating those processes that you're putting in place to be able to fulfill their needs before they even know they need them. So you get all those in place. Just think about all the different questions that you've gotten at different points and figure out at what point could I answer that before I get that email, before I get that phone call. At that point, then you're freeing up the time that it's going to take to calm them down or feed that information back to them. You're saving that time in the future for other people. Okay. Then you start going through and you start looking at, once I've got my deadline stuff, once I've pre-answered all my questions for my contacts and stuff, now I can start looking in, and it's like, how can I surprise and delight this person? How can I make it more of an experience that they will enjoy this process? Can I give them something? Can I fulfill some need that that particular person has at this particular point in time through the transaction that maybe they didn't even know they needed, you know? And by doing that, they remember you, you know, giving them that experience and wrapping those experiential elements throughout the entire core strategy process gives them then that information ahead of time. They don't question you. The process works. Everything is more streamlined. You don't get those frantic calls at different points through the process. And you go home at night and you don't have to worry about the things left undone. You don't have to worry about, did this certain thing get done? Because the system makes sure that it does get done. You don't have to worry about it. So many times, real estate agents don't have their systems in place, and the worry, the fret, the fears that they get are not necessarily from things that the client is doing. It's because they're having to play catch up all the time to make sure that everything does get done. And now you're stressing over things while you're at home with your family, and that's the time that you need to be focused in with your family, enjoying your family, because, you know, family grows up quick, especially, you know, little kids, they become young adults. So, I've been blessed, but so many times, the agents get burnt out. I had a call today where one of the agents was talking about how, because of the way this business is, how many challenges that come up all the time, that a lot of them can be preempted and prevented but aren't. And then that causes stress through phone calls of elevated conversation, all the things that happen that people get upset about. A lot of it can be de-escalated very easily, very quickly, by preempting it with content of the context, knowing what they're going through and being able to identify those elements that inevitably, because you've done it so many times, that you can make it happen. You can give them the information before it happens, and then you don't have that problem. And now I can go home and I can not be stressed.
Well, and think about it this way too. You as a real estate agent are the expert. And so not only is thinking through the questions that they're going to have beforehand and then providing the answers to them, it's allowing you to step into that role as the expert and verify and prove to them that you're the expert. But then you're also not having to be in that overwhelm, burning the candle at both ends kind of moment that is ultimately going to, if you like, let's assume you're so overwhelmed, you're so burned out, maybe you just like accidentally, say a little sharp statement to one of your customers. Well, that could be the transaction. Or you say it to your significant other or your family. Well, gosh, now you've just hurt those relationships. Over what? Over not thinking about a small process. So this is an opportunity for you to step up in the expert role that you already exist in, and to be able to do that really powerfully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Mark, I'm happy to keep riffing. I know you've got a hard cut at 4:30. So if you don't mind, I've got one more question that I would love to ask you. And this one actually comes from one of your old customers. And it was a bit of a throwback to see their name. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to sway your opinion on what you give this answer to, but they want to know what lessons you learned from building Advantage XI and RealVolve in the 90s and then in the 2000s that have informed how you're building today. So, I guess the ultimate question is like, talk to me about your journey as a real estate technologist. What are some of the deep rooted lessons that you've learned, and how have they made you a better technologist today?
Yeah, that's a great question. The thing that it's been a philosophy, and I've talked about this in the past, that I've had for a long time, is there's a animated movie called Robots, 2005. The Blue Sky, I think. I forget who produced it. But one of the robots on there, the key theme, or the key thing that he talks about, is find a need, fill a need. So starting back in the old times, back in the 90s, I sat down and I listened to the customers. I listened to the agents, and they would tell me. And in fact, my very first meeting with Peggy Mitchell, I said, I gave her a kind of a question, open question. I said, okay, can you work on a list, just a list of things that you have problems with, that potentially technology could help you with? And at that point, I mean, technology was so young, she didn't really know what was or wasn't a technology thing, but she gave me a list of 28 different things. I then started looking at those 28 things, and I don't know if it's the engineering mind that I've got, or what. The mentality that I have is let's look down deep, let's find that need and figure out how to fill that need. What are the steps? What are the processes? What are the things that are needed, the different elements that are needed in order to make that happen? So we start figuring out, well, this particular thing we need contact information. This particular thing we need property information and listing information, and how do all of those fit and match together? And then as we continued to figure out ways to solve the problems, the systems kind of blossomed and presented themselves, manifested themselves through figuring out what this fill the need part was actually happening. So over time, whenever we started adding more and more customers, what I realized was the need that Peggy had initially was she needed to be spending more time at home. She had a young daughter that loved her, needed her, whatever. But because of the way real estate is done, is long hours, long days, long weekends, going through the process of helping others with the largest financial investment that they will make typically in their lives, figuring out how to make that happen. And you're trying to help them achieve that dream. As a real estate agent, you're doing that at the detriment of your own family at times. So you really need to figure out how to balance, this whole idea, a thought of work, family, relationship balance, work-life balance. But the worst part of that, whenever she told me a story, I won't go into the story, but it was a very heart-touching story that how between her and Amber, and it just kind of dug at me. It's like, how can I solve this problem? The bigger issue, and something that I learned over all the 35 years, is that incident was not an isolated incident of needing to spend more time with family. It is rampant amongst all real estate agents in one form or another. I say all, it may not be all, but a vast majority of agents are inundated with challenges, daily challenges that detract from that family life that they want. And if it's not, they've purposely had to make a decision to not let it. And I praise them for that if they can do that. A lot of times it doesn't work out so well. And because of that, challenges happen as well. But what I have learned is that through the different systems that I have developed, everybody has certain needs, and those needs are common amongst all the different agents. There are differences, and if your system is customizable enough to handle those differences, then awesome, great. And that's what we've been doing with Sam, is making sure that not only is it powerful, it has the main features that everybody needs: the contact management, listing management, transaction management, the calendaring, the call list, being able to deal with templates and routines, the workflow processes that are out there. These are elements that are built in virtually any system. Some of them are made to handle real estate agents' specific needs. Some of them are not. But I have spent so much time with so many different agents, tens of thousands of agents now, that we've identified, here are the typical challenges they run into. How can we solve those problems? And if we solve those problems the right way, then they spend more time with the ones they love at home. So the question that you brought up was, what have I learned? I've learned that everybody has different needs, but if you look at them as a category, those needs are very similar. It's just they have to be customized in some way. Now, honestly, the CRM, and you and I have talked about this before, the CRM as it stands today, the way it currently is, I see in the very near future it going away and not being used in the same way that it has for the past 30 plus years. With the advent of AI, with the advent of the speech to speech technology that's out there, how you interact with your CRM, your data is going to change. And that's what we're also incorporating. We're building the infrastructure to house the data. And in order to do that, we have to give an interface that people are somewhat used to using. A contact database, a listing database, a transaction database, a template, or whatever it is. But ultimately, you guys as real estate agents spend more time in your cars than you do anywhere, on your phones. And the challenge is if you're trying to use a system on your phone, you can't be driving at the same time, but you can be talking. So why not start interacting with your database through normal speech communication? And that's what we've built through SAM, is the ability to communicate. Hey, I'm going to my next appointment. Give me some information on John and Mary Smith, and then have the system come back and give you information about the appointment, where it's at, what you're going to be talking about, what's the topic of it. I mean, there's just lots of different things that could be discussed. Oh, hey, I just got a call from John Smith. Can you put him in the computer for me? You can start talking to your CRM, and it be organizing the data in a way that can be useful. Now, the challenge is, and some people's like, well, if I use ChatGPT, I don't need a CRM, right? Well, the problem is context windows. And while context windows will continue to grow, how those context windows are structured and how, and I'm using a term that probably you guys don't even realize. Whenever you're doing stuff within ChatGPT, you can start typing in ChatGPT at the top, and it knows exactly what you're talking about, or whatever. It'll make up stuff too. But as you start going along, if your chat window starts getting rather long, you've got a long conversation of stuff. It'll remember a lot of the stuff at the beginning. It'll remember all the stuff at the end, but then stuff in the middle starts getting a little fuzzy. Well, fuzzy information in the middle is not what you want whenever you're dealing with your database.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have long-term memory for your database. And ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, all these places, they will start offering options for longer term memory, but you also need to be able to just get to that information and have it structured in a way that you don't have to work hard to get it out as well. And that's what we're doing with SAM, is just making sure that you've got the infrastructure, you've got the data, it's well organized, and everything is linked together, in that there is a relationship between your data elements that that ties it all together. You know that this person had this listing that has this closing on this day with these people, and that structure can easily get lost if it's not organized in the right way. So did I even answer the question? I know I was just rambling.
Yeah, no, that was great. Mark, sometimes I like to just listen, and I think that you hit on the core of what I feel are the two most pressing issues for any real estate agent: time and technology. If you want to boil it all the way down until we've got nothing but a couple crumbs left, time and technology. And I often say that our mission over here at Workflow Secrets is to help free up time for the things that matter most. You touched on the family aspect. I also think that we could expand that to friends, family, hobbies, and growing a successful business, because that successful business is going to help you create space for the friends, the family, and those hobbies. Those are all the things that are going to fuel you up so that you can avoid burnout, so that you can go out into the world and show up for your customers and just be the super expert that you're supposed to be. And so I think that is excellent. I think I grew up a Lego kid. You grew up a Lego kid. You grew up with me being a Lego kid. And I think
on lots of Legos before.
lots of Legos. And it's cool because I get to now look at your journey, and arguably, I don't really remember much from the AXI days, but I remember putting stickers on the top of your CDs. That's kind of cool. I remember you paying me to sort through your file cabinet. That was awesome. I appreciated that. But I can see through the conversations that we have. I can see through the folks in our community who reach out and ask these kind of questions. And I can see through the interactions we have with our customers who have followed you all the way through, the power in that building block and how you were able to take that and migrate it into the SaaS environment and start looking at how do we build these workflows engines, and started thinking through how to establish and create this infrastructure. And then you learned lessons from that. And when you were able to come back into Workflow Secrets and start working on SAM, I mean, how many notebooks are you up to now of just dreams, visions, ideas, and things that we are going to enable real estate agents to do? And I think that has been such a poetic journey from the looking glass, watching you be able to pour into this project. I think that if I were to summarize everything that I think, feel, and appreciate about you, we could be here for another 3 or 4 hours. But I think that this work is work that you are called to do. And I can tell because how you show up for people and the insights and the wisdom that you bring to it. This has been a lot of fun.
This has been fun. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, just being able to, ask a couple of questions. We didn't get to nearly all of them. In fact, we only got to a couple of them, but that's okay, because this is our first AMA, meaning I will be hosting these again, begrudgingly or otherwise. You will be here, Mark. But it is my pleasure to get to help you stack those Lego bricks and take your experiences and pour them into SAM. And you shared a glimpse at the vision for where I see SAM headed to. And to me, it makes the most sense. And why it makes the most sense is because at the end of the day, the solutions that we currently have available to us have the capability to do so much more. And it comes down to the SaaS-based legacy CRM. It's just a digital Rolodex. Okay, well, we have workflow automation. So those are just fancy pre-scheduling of emails and messages and reminders. So that's not even super fancy too. And the work we've been able to seed into the routines and the direction we're headed with this has been a lot of fun. And I guess ultimately I'm going to wrap this up with it's just been an ultimate pleasure. The insights, the wisdom. I appreciate you taking these questions and answering them in earnest. And for everyone who attended, for everyone who signed up or is watching this live, we're very grateful for you. Obviously, I positioned this as an event that we're not pitching at. And we have lots and lots of opportunities that you guys could engage with us. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, I will point you towards our website, workflowsecrets.info. We offer up free trials of our software. If you're looking for a system, we are the AI system that's replacing real estate CRMs for agents and teams. And I proudly get to add on to the back of that now across North America because we've been expanding. And you could get that at sam.workflowsecrets.info. But Mark, last thoughts, give them to me. I think you poetically tied a bow on that with that last question, but send us off.
Well, I'm going to loop back around to the very first question, I think, or it was pretty close to the first question, which was, why people don't use the CRM. I'm going to flip that over just a little bit and say, I hope that you guys will see the power, go out to Workflow Secrets, you go out, try the demo, compare it to what you're currently using. If you're using anything, if you're not using something, certainly, take a strong look at what we're putting together. And we're only scratching the surface right now of where it's at as to where it's going. Like I said, we have to build the infrastructure, but get that vision of what could I do as a real estate agent to be able to give myself as a real estate agent the time that I need with my family. If I was to just put in a little extra effort to build the systems out that gives my clients that world-class experience that they will remember, that they will tell other people. And once again, if you do that, if you set up those systems, you'll grow in your business. You will spend less on buying leads because your repeat and referral business will totally outweigh anything that you do as far as your business goes. And you will get to a point where you will enjoy your business during business hours, and you will enjoy your lifestyle after hours with the people that you love. That's all I really care about, is making sure that those things that you do during the work hours are successful enough that at the end of the day, you can go home, be with your family, and enjoy your time with them so that you're not having to worry, fret, think about work when, be in the moment with them. That's the key. Kids are young. If you have a young family, they grow quick, and you've got this time right now. And if you let this time go by, you could regret a lot of things, and I would hate for you guys to regret that time. At the same time, maybe you've got adult kids. Maybe you've already you're doing this as a second part of your life where you want to spend time with your grandkids, or whatever it is. You need to have systems in place so that you can scale your business. And scale means different things to different people. Scale may be I want to do the same amount of work, but I want to get more work done. Or scale may be, I want to do the same amount of work that I'm currently doing in less time. Either way, you know, you may have enough business. Most agents that I know wouldn't say that. You know, unfortunately, this is a business where a vast majority of agents make less than, you know, $8,000, you know, whatever that number is. And it's very small because there's just so many people that just don't do it full time. But at the same time, if you have systems in place, utilizing them well can give you a good lifestyle. So use it well.
Excellent. Well said. Well, Mark, I say we wrap there. And everyone, thank you for attending. Thank you for showing up, for submitting your questions, and stay tuned. We will have other AMAs coming up. And until then, I wish you all the best.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.
See ya.